It's the Musi and
Rosie and
Kenzo
Kenzo
show.
show. We're getting better.
Jazz hands.
We're getting better, right?
We are.
But
Slowly but
but
surely. I don't know. You tell us, audience. You tell us, are we getting better? Always open to feedback. Very
yeah,
interesting, isn't it? Taking feedback and not seeing it as criticism, I think, is a massive leap in emotional maturity.
right. And
Yeah.
when you actually ask for feedback and you're prepared to make the changes if there are any, because
Mm.
I don't know, do you sometimes feel like when people are asking for feedback, they're actually asking for compliments?
Yes, yeah, they're fishing for what you're doing
Yes,
right. But this is
yes,
interesting, like especially you, because you've just done your adult chair training and you would have had to have been watched to do your coaching,
correct.
right? And I did my pro coach training a couple of years ago, and we had to do triads, which was where there was a group of three. There was one observer, one client, one coach, and the what did I say? The watcher. What did I say? The person who was watching the coaching session had to give
Hmm.
the feedback and what frameworks did we use, la 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 la. And yeah, I was so triggered because I hadn't done, I've only just started, so doing the work
Yeah, yeah.
and being triggered by the feedback was, I
Hmm.
was like, oh yeah, well I did it that way because she said this and then I kind of thought this and so I went that way because of that. And it's like when you start to over explain why you did things a certain way, it's like just take the feedback. It's actually there to help you and serve you. It's not pointed out as a criticism. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's constructive, right?
Yeah, is there such a thing as constructive criticism? But like if you're asking for feedback, like it's you kind of have to
Take
if
the good
you're
with the
asking,
bad.
yeah, if you're
Yeah,
asking the question, you kind of got to accept whatever answer comes, even if it's one that you don't particularly like.
agreed.
And
Agreed.
I found it particularly difficult because I've been nursing for like 20 odd years. I'm good at nursing. Like, there's
Yeah.
not much that you can correct me on nursing. I'm pretty darn good at that. But then to dive into something brand new where you feel already very uncertain and you want to be good at it because it means a lot to you, and then to have people pointing out what you could do different, incredibly triggering.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. Well, I certainly had to submit videos for my submissions for feedback
Hmm.
from the mentor coaches, and um, but they had the grace to say, look, and you'll know this yourself. So any one coaching session can go a number of ways.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily a right and a wrong, but there's they quite often would come back and say to me, okay, so you went obviously down this path. They can see the path I went down,
Hmm.
and what were the things that you could have brought up, but maybe at the time it didn't feel right, or on reflection you could have gone down a different path. So that there was always a good conversation about that too, because there's always more than one way to skin a cat, as you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people who have walked the path for a lot longer can get to those breakthroughs and transformations quicker than someone who hasn't walked that path for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So they can kind of show you the shortcuts and say, if you use this model, then that will get the breakthrough a bit quicker. Or if you brought them through this process, da 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 da. But
Yeah.
there's also there's also like what feels good for you as well. So
Mm-hmm.
my style of coaching, I've paid for mentorship before as well, and his style wasn't particularly what sat well with me. And maybe that's
Mm.
because, I mean, on reflection, maybe that because I haven't done that work myself yet,
Okay.
and so I need to take myself through that process a little bit more, or like maybe it's just not my style. So it's a little bit of what are you scared to go into? Like, what are you saying no to because you're afraid to go there, or what isn't aligned yes or no for
Exactly.
as well? Like,
Yeah.
is that because I haven't done the work myself, or is it because it just doesn't feel right for me?
And that's why different coaches or therapists or professional people, they've all got their different ways that they feel comfortable working in,
Hmm.
or maybe I'm more intuitive and I just feel my way through it. And I just feel like I intuitively know the best way to go,
Yeah.
hopefully serving. the client.
Mm-hmm.
But the beauty of everyone having their own way of doing it is some clients will love it this way and others won't. So,
Mm-hmm.
choose your therapist or your coach or your professional person based on who you feel most aligned with.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
exactly. And the way that you do that is to just keep on watching what we do. Like,
Yeah,
keep on following our page. If what we write resonates with you, when we go live,
yeah.
does that resonate with you? Come to like free content, free masterclasses. If what we're saying resonates with you, and if you're lighting up and you're thinking, wow, what they're saying
Mm.
is actually really driving home something for me, trust
Mhm.
that feeling as well, but don't do it out of fear of like, oh, they said they're the only ones that can do this, so and it's a special, so I better sign up for it, otherwise I'll miss out. And
Yeah,
don't do it out of that energy. Do it out of the energy of, wow, this person really aligns. Like this
yeah,
person, I'm picking up what they're putting down.
yeah. And that's why I like to do the free 15-minute chat just to get a sense of, am I the right person for you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in those chats, like, yeah, not as a client coming to a coach, don't expect massive transformation in those 15 minutes, but it's
Mm.
more of like what are your issues that you feel you need to work through, and
Mm.
as a coach, are we able to get you through those? Is there,
Mm.
are we able to give you the breakthroughs that you're after? So, yeah.
Communication.
Hmm.
We
Different
love
strokes
it.
for different folks.
That's it. That's it. Hey, I heard a saying the other day
Mm-hmm.
that I just loved and I wrote it down and I thought, oh, I think this is something we can chew over.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at a women's circle last week, which was fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I wrote down, the lovely lady who was facilitating this circle, she was talking about suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wrote down here is, or what her wording was, suffering is when discomfort plus resistance come together. So you can discomfort plus resistance equals suffering.
Mm, yeah, I like
And I
that.
like, yeah. And I thought the
Mhm,
resistance, how often do we resist things? And that's where so we're in our discomfort, and that's fine.
mhm,
We're all
mhm,
entitled and we all get triggered or get uncomfortable at times. But
mhm,
when we're resisting it,
mm,
I
yeah,
thought that equals suffering.
yeah.
What do you think of that?
I love it because when you're triggered, for example, it's your body saying not safe, not safe, not safe, and you feel that discomfort. And when you're not willing to lean into that discomfort and figure out where it's coming from, that's resistance, isn't it? It's
Mm,
like I'm not willing to go there. I'm just
yeah.
going to sit in this suffering. I'm just going to sit in this
Mm,
discomfort because I'm not willing to lean into that. So
mhm.
yeah, that's interesting.
So discomfort plus going with it, that can equal growth.
Yes. Yeah, love
But
it.
when we're resisting and
Mm-hmm.
not going with it, that's where
Mm-hmm.
the suffering comes in. I really liked that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because also like resistance is misalignment as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like you always want to be in flow, but when something's coming up against that and you've got that resistance, it's like, yeah, you're off your flow, like you're out of you're out of
Mm,
alignment. So
mm,
yeah, no, I like that. Yeah,
mm.
so discomfort plus resistance, or resistance
Discomfort,
minus, would there be resistance minus discomfort? I don't know.
discomfort plus resistance. I don't know. Like, let's think of an example. So, just say you really were not happy in your current job and you knew you wanted to get out. So
Mm-hmm.
that's discomfort. Like you're not loving it anymore. So you're uncomfortable turning up at the same job all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
you're resisting doing anything about it.
Yep, that's suffering.
So that's then you become victim, you
Mm-hmm.
become a bit of a martyr sometimes. So there's a whole range of things that happen to people when they feel they're in a job that they shouldn't really be in anymore, but for whatever reasons they're still in it.
Mm.
and they turn into someone who's quite suffering,
Mhm.
shall we
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. And you,
Whereas if it's discomfort plus, I don't know, doing something about it or say aligned action within that
mm,
discomfort,
yeah.
that's where the growth comes in.
Yeah, making a move, any move. It's interesting you say that
Mm.
actually, because one of my clients actually, so every Wednesday night I have a client call and it's either my Seven Slay signature program ladies or my Divas Mastermind ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And my most of my Divas Mastermind ladies, because they've already bought my signature program, they can jump into the group
Mm-hmm.
coaching on the Seven Slays. And I had five on the call last night. And one of the ladies, super, super brave. Oh my God, how much she has grown in the 2 years we've worked together has been exponential. Like where she was and where she is now
Fantastic.
is incredibly, like, just it blows my mind the things that she has dealt with, and she has just freaking slayed it, right? And like has been intensely uncomfortable while doing it. And there's been tears and there's been doubt and there's been whys and there's been victim, but she's moved through all of it. And now she is just like, she is following her intuition. So she's a splenic projector. So which means that
Mm.
she is someone who is meant to follow her gut, her first instinct, her first impression. And she's done that and she's landed this amazing job that has taken her away like a fair distance from her family. So she's got a son who's in his early 20s and a teenage daughter who I think might be in year 11 or year 12. So she's staying with her dad and she's moved about 6 hours away into a phenomenal job. Like she's a very educated lady, very clever. And she's moved into this amazing place. But what came with the job was someone who's her boss that isn't great and is a very similar type of person to what she's dealt with in the past. So it's interesting
Mm.
how the universe brings these challenges up to, just say, oh, are you who you said you were going to be when you drew the boundaries around that person? Let's test it with another person, kind of thing. So
Yes.
interesting.
What's the
I don't
common
know.
denominator here?
Yes, and it's so funny because the last for every week for my clients, I do a card pull as well every weekend for them, and the same kind of theme of forgiveness and compassion for
Ah.
those who go against us keep on coming up. And she's like, "No, I redraw new cards." Like every week. She's like, "I'm done." But yeah, so she's been in this position for long enough to know. Now, I'm all for fighting the good fight, right?
Mhm.
But when someone is not being above the line and is just doesn't know how to manage people, is always below the line, being quite manipulative and quite sneaky, and not doing their job very well, micromanaging and that. And when you go to their boss and you're not supported by their boss either, like you've tried to, do the right thing by
Mhm.
this person, hasn't worked, so you go above and say this person has become like they've had lots of issues, lots of other people are saying similar things. And when you're not supported by that person as well, where do you go? Like, do you
Mm.
continue to fight or do you just throw your hands in the air and go? And we had a session around it, and I brought out this little nugget, which is Eckhart Tolle.
Mhm.
If I find here and now unacceptable, I have three choices.
Yeah.
So totally accept it, change it, or remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah.
So she was kind of like she didn't want to totally accept it. So she was either at change it or remove yourself from the situation. But if you're not supported by, multi levels, how much
Mm.
energy do you pour into it?
Mm.
So instead of sitting in her like, well, what am I going to do, what am I going to do, she's actually sought like other opportunities that's going to take her much further away again, but she's just like, you know what, whatever happens, I'm going to be okay.
Mm.
So as opposed to sitting in that suffering of hands in the air, I'm a victim, I can't do anything about it, I just have to sit, it's like I'm going to create opportunities for myself. And it's not about instigating as such or or what's the word I'm looking for? Is it instigating? It could be that, like creating your own stuff, which is
Hmm.
like in human design, some people are here to respond, initiate, that's the word I'm looking
Initiate.
for. So manifestors are here to initiate, generators are here to respond. So if a generator initiates, we get into a whole heap of licorice, all sorts of trouble. Whereas, manifestors, if they initiate, all good for them. That's how they're meant to
Mm.
move. But it's also about like creating opportunities for yourself. And if they say no to that other opportunity, well then okay, cool, it was never meant to be. But to open that door and just see what comes through it, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, what a wonderful, brave move.
Yeah, yeah. And she's opened a couple of doors, shall we say.
Excellent. Oh,
And
good.
um and yeah, it's all about that, yeah, that choosing suffering or not, creating opportunities, seeing what
Yeah.
happens, see what the universe brings in, but also movement is life. Like
Yes.
always do something. Like I don't know if you've seen that movie
You
World
can't
War
fish
Z.
in a stagnant pool. How's that?
I like that. I like
I
that.
think I just made that up. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. We'll quote you, Millsy Dart.
I'll Google that later. Is that no?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought of that because when we feel stagnant at work, because let's face it, we spend more time at work than we do in our own homes, just about.
Mm,
Um, it's when you feel that you don't have your own growth there, or you're not supported, or at least you don't get joy or fulfillment out of it.
mm,
Maybe she can get fulfillment out of serving whatever. I don't know. I don't
yeah,
even know what the
yeah.
job is, but you don't, you can put up with a shitty boss for so long
Mm,
before it takes away from everything else. So if you feel a
yeah.
bit stagnant in that role, I think I think that's the answer.
Yeah. And there is plenty of opportunity where she is in that role, but he's
Mm,
just not allowing it. Like he's
right.
like, oh, I'll deal with that person. Oh no, don't talk to that person. They've had issues in the past. We've had issues
Micromanaging.
with them.
Mm,
Like, so don't talk to them and da da da. And she's tried to sort of be her best and highest self around all of it. But when you've got
yeah.
someone who undermines you, talks like not well of you behind your back, and it's
Mm.
it's just a shitty culture that
And
she
if
kind of
that's happening
fell into.
above, in the layer above
Yeah,
from
yeah.
this,
Like if
that's
she was
not good.
supported by the heart, but I said
Yeah.
it's like his behavior isn't affected by them, so they actually just don't care. They just don't care. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's the hard, cold truth of it, is that if,
Mm,
if it doesn't affect someone's daily experience, then they're just not going to care, which is
mm,
very sad considering how excited she was for this opportunity. But
mm.
but yeah, I love that, like that there's that movie World War Z with Brad Pitt in it, and he's
Yeah.
and he's like, movement is life, movement is life. So instead of just sitting there stagnant, she's like, all right, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And so she's created opportunities, and it's like they could turn out, they could not, but it's all about creating the opportunities and then trusting her splenic hit when it comes. Is this a yes or is this no? And then moving with it, or just going,
Yeah.
good to know that
I'm
I've got
writing
options.
these nuggets down.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was interesting. And another quote that I've heard, I think another one from Eckhart Tolle, is suffering is the non-acceptance of what is.
Suffering is the non-acceptance. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, okay. So the suffering is the non-acceptance. So that's like the resistance. Not accepting it is the
Yeah, yeah.
resistance.
It's like this is my situation, but I hate it and I don't want to be here and like everything's shit and
Yeah.
that.
So that's
Um,
kind of the same as this suffering is your discomfort and the resistance. So it's the resistance is the um
non-acceptance.
not acceptance,
Mm,
and what is, well, it's your own discomfort.
mm.
It is what it
And
is.
and
Mm.
if the what is completely unacceptable, you've got three choices.
Exactly.
You
Yes.
can
Yes.
completely accept it, change it, or
Or remove yourself.
remove yourself.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So yeah, there you go. We've just solved all the problems of the world, right?
Well,
No.
isn't it funny how, you know, we've all heard different sources. We've broken down a couple of things, but they're kind of the same thing, just said in a different way. And I
Yeah.
love the synchronicity when this happens. It's like when you can have a good old chinwag with someone and you've decided that, okay, this is what it all means. And then you're validated when you hear
Mm,
something else from a different
yeah.
source. And it's basically saying exactly the same thing in you all along. Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And sometimes it just takes something to land at a slightly different trajectory for you to go, oh, that's what that means. So
Yeah.
sometimes you do need to hear the same thing said in certain ways for it to
Yes.
actually land.
Yes.
So yeah, don't
Yeah.
think, and also like you'll learn this yourself when you start doing group coaching and things, and when your clients start coming into the groups and you're talking about the same topic again. They'll say, "Oh, look, I know we've done this lesson, but when you explained it this time, it just landed." And it's because people are in different
Yeah.
places at different times, and they might not have been ready to hear it the way that they did the second or the third time around. And then the third time around, they're like, now I get it. Now I got it. And that's when you get those
Yes.
mini breakthroughs. I have
Love
clients
it.
say to me, like, I remember it wasn't even me you were coaching, but you were telling someone else this, and that really resonated with me. It's like, so yeah, the power of group coaching is incredible because, like, what you say is going to impact other people as
Yes.
well and resonate with them. So,
Yeah.
love the
Love it.
love the groups.
Excellent. All
Yes.
right. Well done. Well done. All
Yeah.
right. Should we get into our scenario then?
Let's do it.
All
Now,
right.
I haven't
So,
read this one at all. I'm going in blind, people.
yeah, go girl. All right.
That's for
I'll read
sure.
it out. You
Hmm.
just absorb it all in. All
Okay.
right. Anonymous. Would you know it?
Bloody anonymous. My God, this person's a train wreck, anonymous.
Luckily for us, right?
I know.
All right. Anonymous asks, am I the asshole for refusing to help my best friend with her wedding because she didn't make me a bridesmaid? My best friend, we'll call her May,
Hmm.
and we're both 24 years old and we've been close since high school. We've talked about being in each other's weddings. So when she got engaged last year, I assumed I'd be a bridesmaid. She recently asked me to help with the wedding planning, but when she showed me the list for the bridal party, I wasn't on it. I asked why, and she got awkward and said she had to make some choices. The party did include her sister, her fiance's sister, and a few newer friends she's known for a couple of years. And she wanted a
Hmm.
small party. I didn't want to make a big deal, though. I congratulated her and figured I'd still be a guest. But
Hmm.
then she started asking me for a lot of help, things like dress shopping, the do it yourself decorations, venue hunting, and making party favors, etc. I
Yeah,
finally
that's a
told
big time
her,
investment, isn't it?
yes, I
Mm.
finally told her, hey, I love you, but I feel weird doing all of this when I'm not even a bridesmaid.
Hmm.
She got angry and said that she thought I'd still want to be involved because we're best friends.
Hmm.
I told her I'd still be at the wedding, but I wasn't going to do all this extra work when she didn't even consider me close enough to be in her bridal party.
Mm.
Now she and some of our mutual friends are giving me the cold shoulder, saying I'm being petty and making the wedding about me. But I'm not going to be doing bridesmaid level work if I'm not one.
Mm.
Mm,
Interesting, isn't it?
interesting.
Mm.
Weddings are beautiful moments in time,
Hmm.
lovely milestones to celebrate, but
Hmm.
gosh, don't they just bring out the worst in some people?
They sure do. They bring out the prickly bits, don't they?
They do. They
Yeah,
do.
that's interesting, isn't it?
So the question is anonymous, is she wrong to say no, I'm not doing this? Or do you
Mm.
think that that's appropriate?
I mean, I guess from a righteous kind of higher self kind of thing, you do what you want to do without having any investment on what the outcome should be.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, if you're being like your best and higher self, la da da da. But yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Especially if there was kind of already a predetermined
Mm.
agreement that you were going to be a bridesmaid. I'd be interested to hear how many bridesmaids she had in the end. She said two, like sister and sister-in-law,
It
which is
sounds
fair enough.
like four, the two sisters, and she said, and a couple of, well, she said a few newer
Mm.
friends. So two newer friends,
Because
her
four
sister, her
bridesmaids to
fiance,
me
so
is not a
four.
small bridal party.
I had two.
Yeah, I had two. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that,
that's small. That is small. But
yeah.
four, I don't, yeah, look,
Look, I
up to
think
me.
if she wanted to keep it to two, then obviously the sisters take precedent.
Right.
But yeah, if she added another two on it, yeah, I'd my nose would be out of joint
Of newer
of newer
friends,
friends.
yeah,
Exactly.
that would piss me off.
Mm, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So I think absolutely, and like good for her for saying something because she could have just kept on going and then just been resentful afterwards, and it could have all blown up afterwards.
I would feel used personally. I would feel
Mm,
used. I would
yeah.
feel like, especially because it appears that they've had a discussion about it years ago,
Mm,
that there was like an implied contract almost in a way that they were going to be each other's bridesmaids. It was like
yeah.
an implied agreement.
Hmm.
So, and then to find out not only that you're not,
Mm,
but she's in, the sister's not a problem, but to have newer friends then take that role,
mm.
I would feel used. I wouldn't feel that I was being included. I would feel used.
Yeah, yeah. And
If
especially
you,
if we're talking DIY decos and stuff like that,
yeah,
that's a big time
yeah,
investment. Yeah.
I would feel if you wanted to include me or involve me,
Hmm.
could I be the MC or could I do a reading or
Yeah,
something? Or
or at the usher, do I take people to their
yes,
seat? Yeah,
you
no,
can have
I
a
agree.
you can play an active role in a wedding
Hmm.
without being in the bridal party,
Mm,
but she doesn't even have that.
mm, yeah.
So I'm yeah, I don't like the sound of this at all.
Yeah.
But I applaud her for saying what she did.
Mm, yeah. I would be very interested as well if they were to have like a conversation around perspective because it sounds like the bride was trying to do the right thing by involving her, saying, oh, look, you can't be part of the bridal party, but I would love to involve you. So the bride, without sort of any maliciousness, because it interestingly, I like people don't go out of their way to upset you or to be obnoxious. Like a lot of the time when people hurt you, they do it on a completely unconscious level. Like they don't
Mm,
realize they're doing it. So I don't believe, and I could be completely wrong, but I don't believe that this bride was roping her in to intentionally use her as such. But I think it doesn't mean to say that it invalidates her experience of what happened, like the Anonymous's experience of it. But I don't
mm,
think the intention was there to manipulate and use and hurt. I think the bride was probably coming from the position of, I can't have you in my bridal party, but I want to include you in this way, but isn't taking on Anonymous's perspective of, well, I'm not part of it, and now you're using me for this. So I think it's really a lack of communication and
mm,
just insensitivity. I think probably from the bride's behalf of
yeah,
not actually seeing Anonymous's point of view. Not that it makes any of it right though, as well, but just
yeah,
playing devil's advocate a little bit. Like I
yeah,
see it probably wasn't intentional. Like she wasn't going to go, well, I'm not going to have her in my bridal party, but I'm going to use it for everything else. I'm going to milk it for as much as I can. Like I don't think that was the intention, but yeah, I think it's definitely not seeing it through each other's perception of
mm,
what was good. I mean, the bride might have even thought that she was doing her friend a favor by including her and making her feel involved in it. But I can 100% understand Anonymous's point of view as
yeah.
well.
Because the
Mm,
wording here is when Anonymous stood up to the bride,
mm,
she got angry and said that she thought I'd still want to be involved because we're best friends.
yeah. Well, as
If
best
you're
friends,
best friends,
why am I not in the bridal party? Yeah,
in the bridal party if the bride is calling you the best friend?
yeah,
Doesn't
yeah,
feel
yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't feel good to me.
No, absolutely. And I don't blame, yeah. So, long story short, Anonymous, no, you are not the asshole. If you
No.
are considered her best friend, I would be wondering, well, why did these two other ring ins, pull rank and make it in over me? Like, how come they made the cut and I didn't, kind of thing. So, I'd be very
Yes. What
interested.
do I got to do around here to be a bridesmaid?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also, if they're doing like dress fittings, wouldn't you want your bridesmaids there? Is there? why, where's the sister
Yeah,
doing it?
where are they? Where are they
Where
at?
are they?
Yeah,
Because you can
yeah.
always bring extras in, like
Mhm.
have your girlfriends, have your bridal party, plus anonymous.
Yeah. And
Just
obviously, if there was a reason why the bride said you weren't a bride, like I'm sure Anonymous would have included it in the post by saying, oh, she said I couldn't be a bridesmaid because of whatever.
mm, mm.
And I've heard some outrageous reasons why brides won't have certain people for bridesmaids, like
'Cause
they're overweight or they're pregnant and they'll take the
they
beauty.
don't fit the aesthetic.
Yes, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, which is
yes,
incredible.
terrible. Wow.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like my bestie, like my best friend now came to my wedding, but she wasn't my best friend at the time because we'd only just kind of sort of met about 8 months before I got married. So she
Hmm.
was very quickly becoming my best friend, but she wasn't at that stage. And so
She
um,
hadn't won the title yet.
not there, no, she hadn't earned that privilege, but she well and truly has now. So yeah, to come again now, I would definitely have her as my bridesmaid, but yeah,
Mm,
she'd be doing all of that stuff with me and for me as well. So yeah, no, I don't think Anonymous is the asshole at all, but I don't think that I don't think the bride did it intentionally. I just think that she was being really insensitive
mm,
and didn't realize the impact. And yeah, it would be interesting to have a conversation between the two of them. And like as we keep on saying as well, when emotions are high, intelligence is low. So
hmm.
it's hard to have a conversation when both are feeling very heightened and emotional about it. Um, so,
Because the bride then got angry
mm,
and started giving her the cold shoulder
mm,
and saying that, making the wedding about her, like making it about me.
yeah, and
Like,
she
that
obviously
feels like
doesn't.
a bit of extra pushback, unless
It's
there's a
it
little bit of guilt thrown in and
could be,
she's,
or just pure selfishness of why
yeah.
wouldn't you want to help me? Like it could be that as well. Well, of course you want to help me. You're my best friend. And it's like she just can't see
Then
Anonymous's.
why aren't I bridesmaid?
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm with Anonymous on this one, I've got to say.
I am too, because
Mm,
I hate the thought that this poor girl is just being a bit of a doormat and just doing whatever's at her bidding.
mm,
But it's yeah, I think good on her. I think good
mm.
on her. And the people that were also giving her the cold shoulder, what are they being fed?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and not the bride has obviously had the opportunity to get into their ears.
Mm,
So when you've got that opportunity, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying about my client as well, the
hmm.
person that she's working with has had the opportunity to get into the ears of lots of people as well. So even if my client was trying to be her best and highest self, they've already got a preconceived idea of what's gone on and what she's like
Yeah,
because he's had the chance. So same with this scenario as well. The
yeah,
bride's had the chance to tell her side of the story. So the mutual friends have already just kind of decided what's happened.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what she has to say, she's already on the back foot. So yeah, it's really hurtful for her to um yeah, like for her to be put in that position.
Mm.
Mm,
I would be incredibly hurt.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd have done the same thing. I said, if I'm not important enough to take a role in your bridal, and not necessarily, like I said, as a bridesmaid, but to have whether I can be an usher or do
Mm,
a reading or something along those lines, like
yeah.
to still play a role.
Mm,
If I'm
yeah.
not important enough to play any form of role and I'm just a guest, but yet
Mhm.
you're calling me your best friend, that feels very one-sided.
Mm, mm,
Mm,
yeah, yeah. So if we were to coach
mm,
Anonymous, what
mm.
what would we invite her to explore?
Well, if we did the whole accept it or change it or remove yourself from it, if
Ah,
we
I
see what I
like
did
that.
there?
Yeah, I see what you did.
Because I feel that Anonymous is suffering.
Yes. Yeah, from the not
Otherwise, why do you
acceptance
write
of
into these things
from the
if you're
not
not
acceptance
suffering,
of
right?
what is.
Right. She could just put up and shut up. She could do it. That
Hmm.
would be accepting it.
Hmm.
The changing it, I feel that's what she's done. She's like, I'm not prepared to take this role on if I don't have a formal
mm,
role in your wedding.
mm-hmm,
So she's sort of
mm.
done that.
She's attempted to change it. It's
Yes.
kind of gone pear-shaped. So
Hmm.
now I think the only option she has to do is remove herself from
Remove
the
herself.
situation, process the emotions of the hurt around it and the story that she's making up. You know, if she's got any self-worth stories that are running in
Yeah.
her mind about, I'm not worthy of being in the bridal party, I'm not, you know, she mustn't think I'm a good friend or whatever it is, running through those and, you know,
Mm.
discounting them because she has obviously been a good friend up till now.
Yeah.
And I think once all of the emotion has died down, which might not even be till after the wedding, like there was no real
Mm.
time frame, was there, on this? So, like, actually having a discussion, like if she feels like the friendship is retrievable and
Hmm.
she wants to continue it again, because like she doesn't, if this is the way that she's treating her now, what's to say it's not going to keep on continuing along that vein? So, like the bride treating her,
Mm.
you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
unkindly, what's the relationship been like before? Is it worth keeping the friendship going, or is this a really good time to cut those ties? Or like, how does she feel about it now?
It's
Like,
going to change the dynamic, that's for sure.
mm, mm,
So by removing herself from these duties and just playing the part of a guest, which is no
mm,
additional duties, that's probably the best course of action at the moment. But I would also, something I know you say as well a lot, it didn't happen to you, it happened for you. So what's the
mm,
message or the lesson in this for Anonymous
mm. I mean,
that
because
she
that,
needs to think about?
yeah, and like Oprah Winfrey has got this great quote, and she says, when someone's showing you who they are, believe them.
Oh, is that Oprah?
Yeah, it's
I've
Oprah.
heard that. I love that. I didn't realize that
Mhm.
was an Oprah.
So
Okay.
the way that
Yes.
this bride is treating this friend is definitely showing her who she is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't want to like discount however many years of friendship they've had, or because you know we don't know the whole dynamic. But
Mm.
yeah, it's interesting that she's willing to kind of, you know, cut her out of the well, not cut her out of it, but not
Mm.
include her in the bridal
Mm-hmm.
party, but not listen to, not even, yeah, it's about the in that the not even wanting to consider her point of view of why
Mm.
she's upset. That's
Mm.
what concerns me, is the bride unwilling to listen to her side of the and see it from her point of view.
Mm.
Like, because if you truly are good friends, you would seek to understand, not be right or
Yes.
wrong. So you'd be like, oh, I did it because I thought you'd really want to be involved. I didn't realize that this would hurt you so much. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, and they're quite young too, because she said they're only like 20.
24.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of like, and you know, I hate to say, I mean, there's probably some very mature 24-year-olds out there,
Mm.
but coming from the perspective of a 49-year-old woman, which is me, 24 is very, very young. I did not know my ass from my elbow at 24, and I certainly wouldn't have the emotional capacity to understand someone else's point of
Right.
view from that,
And
that age.
and in terms of um, emotional capacity, that's still an adolescent time frame because um, and you think about how adolescents like fly off the handle all the time or
Mm,
react rather than
mm,
respond. It's not up until around the age of 25, so they're just shy of that, that the
mm,
prefrontal cortex comes online, and that's your decision making functions. That's
mm,
it's about understanding things better. So they're not fully equipped to make these big decisions or to
mm.
process these big emotions in the
Yeah,
way a fully functioning adult can.
yeah, no, I
They just
agree.
don't have the ability yet, and it's through
No.
no fault of their own. It's just something that happens just that tiny bit later in life.
Yeah, yeah. It
Mm.
it begs the question, like, should there be an age limit on getting married? Like, because really, like, oh, like, I wish I
25 to
knew.
sign contracts, to get
Yeah,
tattoos, to get,
because
lifelong decisions. Mm.
yeah, because I've heard of, you know, people getting trust funds and that not until they're 25, and it's probably not a stupid
Ah,
idea because really, like when I remember a relative of mine got quite a sizable inheritance when they were 18, and they blew it. Like it was probably, oh, I can't remember now, but it would have been roughly around $40,000 or something. And at 18, she got it. And it just went on. Like she was
Wow.
shouting people. She bought
Blew
me a
it.
whole heap of stuff. Like she was paying people's rent for them.
Oh my
Like there was
goodness.
all sorts of things going. And it was gone in like 18 months because she just burnt
Ye-
through it. So if she'd wait until she was 20, like, because at 25, you're thinking about maybe investing in a house or a property, or like you're just thinking a little bit more big picture when
Right.
you're 25.
25 is a good age to get a large sum.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're really starting to settle yourself into the world. You've had a bit of fun, and now you're kind of like, okay, what's my future sort of look like? So yeah,
Yeah.
should we be
Mm.
holding off? Like I was 26 when I got married. How old are you when you got married?
29.
Okay.
Mm.
And 26 was much younger than what I thought I would ever get married.
Mm.
So, but when you find a good thing, you jump on it. But
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I got to go.
Oh, sure.
But I think that that's a great ending.
I
Yeah.
think so too. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Always fun
I've
to
got
talk.
someone knocking at my door. Okay.
Oh, fabulous. All right,
Yeah.
then I'll love you and leave you, Dal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us again. That was episode 11.
Like and subscribe.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Thanks, gang.